Welcome back. There's a lot of competition out there for your video game buck. And one of the newest faces in the world of games belongs to the 3DO system. Let's meet one of the proud papas of the new kid in town.
Most of us just think of video games as toys. But don't say that to R.J. Michael. He's one of the co-creators of the 32-bit 3DO system. And you'd have a tough time finding a bigger fan of the 3DO.
3DO is a company that's made a brand new game system that is the most cool game system of all the ones that are out there. It's got the ability to give you an experience when you're playing the games that is so much like reality that it's completely awesome. You can't believe how great it is until you actually get in there and play it yourself, because it's not like a toy. The other systems that are out there, like these little dinky toys that are not very much fun to play with. At least they're not fun to play with anymore after you had a chance to play with the 3DO.
You have to be impressed when you see the arcade quality of the 3DO system, and the newest games on display at the Consumer Electronics Show take the system to the limit.
We've got a bunch of titles here that are that show off the kind of stuff that I'm talking about, that give you kind of experiences that are so real, that have so much great stuff in it that you just can't stop playing them.
PF Magic's an interactive company, games company based in San Francisco's Multimedia Gulch. We've been around for a couple of years, and this is one of the first games that we have out on the market. Petanque is a 3D pinball game where you are the pinball inside of a video pinball machine.
Crystal Dynamics is a software publisher and developer. We're going on our second anniversary next month. We have 4 titles here at the CES show that we're showing. Gex is one of them right behind me. Also Star Control 2, Samurai Showdown, and Off-World Interceptor. Gex behind me is an original 3D character game for the 3DO system. And actually, Gex is our gecko lizard here. Yeah, it's a very, very fun game. He's a very lively character. Samurai Showdown is a fighter action game, and basically it is a best-selling arcade game that we are actually porting to 3DO, so we're very excited about it.
The one complaint that most game players have about the 3DO is that it's an expensive system. It costs about $500, but according to Mr. Michael, there is a good reason for that cost.
It's the biggest and best thing. And we had to pack a lot of stuff in there to get it to be as powerful as it is. So there's, these super powered engines in there that make the really great looking graphics and make the audio be as real as it is. And that stuff isn't free. You gotta pay for it somewhere. And so it is more expensive than some of the other systems, but not by much. And you get what you pay for.
As for the future, the 3DO will become more than just a video game machine. It'll also let you play movies.
My partner Dave and I invented this machine, and so we're real happy with it, and it's really exciting for me to see all of the really great stuff that people are now doing with it. There's so many good pieces of software now. There's a ton of them. There's like already 60 titles now, and there's going to be as many as 100 titles available by this Christmas. And each title that comes out is a little bit better than the last one, a little bit more fun, a little bit more excitement, better colors, better animation and stuff like that. I can't wait to see what people are going to do next.
From the newest game in the business, let's move to the oldest. But don't be fooled, Atari isn't ready to retire. They're taking pride in their Jaguar system. It's the first 64-bit game system to hit the market.
So which video game company has been around the longest? That title goes to Atari.
Atari invented the game business. We were the first company out with a machine called Pong back in the mid-70s. Then there was the Atari 2600, and now the Atari Jaguar, 64-bit.
Atari faded from view for a while in the late 80s, but now that company is back in a big way with the first 64-bit machine, the Jaguar.
We're about 1.5 years to 2 years ahead of the competition, and it's made in the United States, actually North Carolina.
At the show, Atari showed off some of its newest games for the Jaguar.
There's some fantastic games. One is called Alien vs. Predator, which you'll see back in the back. That's fantastic. A fighting game called Kasumi Ninja, which is just awesome. And Checkered Flag, and just wonderful games.
And Atari will soon release a CD-ROM attachment for the Jaguar, so don't expect this cat to slow down at all.
We just introduced over there our new CD-ROM player. So it's a peripheral you attach on top of the Jaguar, and the CD-ROM will sell for $199. And with that, you'll have full motion video. You know, characters moving on the screen all the time, live characters, CD quality sound. Really is fantastic.
You've met the companies that make the game systems. Now let's kick it in gear and check out some of the amazing games that are being prepared for this fall. Get ready for a look into the future of video games.
So far, we've looked at some of the latest game systems. Now let's look at some of the new games that will be heading in our direction. And since those will feature Street Fighters, Mortal Kombat, and every other kind of game you can imagine, my advice is, duck!
Where were you when Mortal Monday arrived? Lots of kids were standing in line to pick up their copy of Mortal Kombat when it was released for the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis systems. Well, get ready, because almost 1 year later, it's Mortal Monday all over again, as Acclaim releases Mortal Kombat 2 with new characters and more action than before. Acclaim has lots of other games on the way too, including the newest adventure of Spider-Man, Venom, and an army of heroes and villains in Maximum Carnage.
Maximum Carnage, which is a great Marvel Comics game featuring Spider-Man and Venom. It's based on Marvel's 14-part comic book epic. We've got a couple of new Simpsons games. That's Virtual Bart and Itchy and Scratchy, Bart's Cartoon Heroes. We'll be doing a great new wrestling game called WWF Raw. And also what we're calling the Madden Eater. It's NFL Quarterback Club. That'll be a 24-meg football game. Just amazing.
Acclaim also used the event to show off its newest motion capture animation system.
We'll be introducing our first game utilizing motion capture technology next year for Sega's Genesis 32X system. But what's amazing is what you think you're looking at human actors, and they're actually just numbers, ones and zeros created by computers. It's the future.
Another fighting game you just might have heard of is Street Fighter II. That game is the pride and joy of a company called Capcom. Like game fans, they know a good thing when they see it, so they're bringing out the newest edition of that beat-em-up. It's called Super Street Fighter II.
We're really happy with it. The play is great, and it's an exact translation of the arcade game, which is pretty much hard to find. A lot of the other arcade translations leave a lot out. They have to keep stuff out just for the sake of memory. But with Super, we went all out with the memory and included some other fun things that weren't in the coin-op.
Capcom also has quite a few other new games on the way, featuring some famous and not-so-famous faces.
We're going to see 2 new Disney titles. We've got Mickey and Minnie's Great Circus Mystery coming out. Real fun game. And we've also got Bonkers, which is another Disney character from the Disney Afternoon. We've also got, by early '95, we'll have the sequel to Mega Man X coming out. We've got Demon's Crest coming out, the X-Men game, which is a fantastic platform fighting game based on one of the most popular comic books in town. It boggles the mind.
Sunsoft was hooping it up as the looniest basketball squad ever, featuring the stars like Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, and Yosemite Sam hit the court for the wildest game of hoops you've ever played.
It will play anything from a conventional, serious game of basketball to a full-blown Looney Tunes basketball game with all kinds of slapstick, comical, humorous, funny things happening.
Sunsoft has some other old favorites making a comeback too.
This is Arrow the Acrobat 2, and it's a great game featuring very high-level animation, cute cartoon comical character, lots of voice and sound effects.
Companies use the electronics show to make big announcements, and that's what Sony ImageSoft did, as they premiered a new game starring the most famous mouse in the world. We're all on a first-name basis with Mickey, aren't we?
Mickey Mania, The Timeless Adventures of Mickey Mouse, is one of our premier titles for 1994. We're very excited about this title. We co-produced the title with Disney Software, and Disney animated all of the animation frames in the game. There are about 1,300 frames of animation in the game. There are 25 levels in the game. Mickey has a lot of personality, a lot of character in the game. It's a really great playing game.
Sony is also bringing out loads of sports games with ESPN. Interplay had a big hit last year with Clay Fighters, the fighting game that stars the wildest characters that ever duked it out. And they're following up with, of course, Clay Fighters 2. One of the hit games at the show was also one of the most disgusting. It's called Booger Man, and I can't even describe its powers, but it is a funny game.
Well, excitement with Booger Man, kind of a new concept, and you know, everybody refers to him as he's not your ordinary hero. So it's kind of gross concept, but I mean, it is so cool, and the kids love it. And it's really good, clean fun. Well, clean, maybe. We've got Blackthorn, which is kind of, it's called 3D rotoscoped animation, but it gives you very fluid animation, very high-quality video game. My 11-year-old son said to me, he says, "Dad, you guys finally got it right."
Over at Ocean, the key word is movies. Their big titles are based on some of the biggest movies around.
We have the Flintstones for both the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. The gameplay is based on the movie. Other games that Ocean has coming up would be Addams Family Values, again based on the Hollywood movie of the same name. We also have The Shadow.
When it comes to putting out games based on movies, JVC doesn't fool around. Their games are based on two of the greatest movies ever, Indiana Jones and Star Wars.
The premiere, of course, is Super Return of the Jedi, the third in the trilogy. 16-meg action-adventure title, follows the movie line straight from start to finish. It's going to be a great title for us. The number 2 title would be Indiana Jones' Greatest Adventures. It follows all 3 of the movies of the Indiana Jones trilogy. It includes all of the best action scenes of the 3 movies in one game pack.
Things are really out of control at Konami, thanks to the Warner Brothers. No, not the movie company. I'm talking about the Animaniacs.
They're just mischievous characters, but they're a lot of fun, And our games will translate that look and feel of the cartoon right in the gameplay. So the children who watch the show can get that same experience through our games.
One of the most unusual games around is being put out by Accolade. It's called Balls, because that's what the characters who fight it out are made up of. Lots of different colored spheres.
They can stretch throughout to punch, and they can roll, and they can explode and come back together again, and it's a very non-violent game. It's the kind of game that I think parents would like their kids to have if they're going to have a fighting game, because it's actually, if it can be said, a non-violent fighting game.
There are certain characters that become famous, and it's not easy to understand why. But there's no doubt that Beavis and Butthead have hit the big time, and Viacom New Media is putting out a game that stars a disgusting duo.
Coming out this fall, we've got Beavis and Butthead cartridge games, which are based on MTV's Beavis and Butthead, and really in order to play them effectively, I think you have to think like Beavis and Butthead, so that's sort of a fun product we have coming out.
One of the newest companies out there is called Rocket Science. They have 2 great-looking games on the way. One set in deep space, and the other pits man against dinosaur.
Well, Lodestar is set on the moon in the 21st century, and your objective as Tully Bodine, a space trucker, is to get off the moon before the sheriff catches you. In Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, it's a world 600 years in the future where inexplicably dinosaurs, 53 Cadillacs, and you coexist, and your objective is to dodge the Cadillacs and turn off an ancient nuclear reactor before it poisons the Earth.
The U.S. has soccer fever, or at least it should have it, since the World Cup is being played right here. To catch the fever, U.S. Gold has prepared a special World Cup soccer game. Here's a look.
Up next on Kidsmag, we'll look at the computer games and more fun stuff. Stay right there.